Legendary jazz drummer Jimmy Cobb is best known for his playing and recording with the Miles Davis Bands from 1957 to 1963. Jimmy's inspirational work included the masterpiece, Kind of Blue, the most popular jazz recording in history. He also played on Sketches of Spain, Someday My Prince Will Come, live at Carnegie Hall, Friday and Saturday nights at the Black Hawk, Porgy and Bess, and many other popular Miles Davis recordings. Largely self-taught, Jimmy is regarded as one of the finest drummers in jazz, having worked with John Coltrane, Wynton Kelly, Paul Chambers, Wes Montgomery, and many other jazz greats. Especially known for his versatility and dynamic style, he also accompanied singers Dinah Washington, Billie Holiday, Pearl Bailey, and had a 9-year stint backing Sarah Vaughn. Jimmy has played around the world and performed for both Presidents Ford and Carter and many other dignitaries in his storied career. He remains active, not only in New York City, but also on the international circuit as a performer and teacher.
Greetings, everyone. We want to welcome all of our DrumChannel viewers. It's a beautiful Sunday, and the only thing that can make it more beautiful than it already is outside is to be indoors here at the DrumChannel studios with the great Jimmy Cobb.
Thank you, Peter.
Yeah. Welcome to DrumChannel.
Thank you.
And we've got a few guests here. To Jimmy's right, Mr. Jeff Hamilton, drummer extraordinaire. The great Roy McCurdy, over here to my left. And the rhythm section, you all played with Sarah Vaughn for quite a few years. Carl Schroeder.
Hello. Hello, everyone.
John Gianelli.
James.
We're here to celebrate the drumming life of Jimmy, and we've all got a lot of questions. There's a lot of stories. If I may, I wanted to start off by reading a couple paragraphs. I got this from your website, and I think a publicist at one of the record companies put it together, but the first two paragraphs are so well written. I'd like to give this a read. Here we go. About Jimmy Cobb. Given his selfless approach to rhythm, the work of drummer Jimmy Cobb tends to be somewhat undervalued by comparison with the aggressive innovations of numerous contemporaries. More often than not, Jimmy Cobb has been defined less by what he plays than by whom he has played with. Besides much heralded stints as the rhythmic impetus behind Miles Davis, Wynton Kelly, Wes Montgomery, the Adderley Brothers, and Sarah Vaughn, Cobb has performed with a who's who of instrumental and vocal giants, one of the most in-demand drummers of his generation. Yeah, or any other generation, I'd say. The writer goes on to say, that's because Jimmy Cobb possesses an innate understanding of what is appropriate, a readily identifiable sense of touch and tempo, a sublime feeling for tension and release, a propulsive ride cymbal signature, and a refined awareness of when to hold back and when to ease up on the reins and air things out. Jimmy Cobb is a peerless timekeeper who takes pride in being a compassionate accompanist, more concerned with making the music swing than in shining the spotlight on his own prestidigitations. This writer has a good vocabulary. Yeah?
Sounds like a real.
I think it is.
There's a double that does it.
Yeah, that's got a left-hand start, I think, prestidigitation. In retrospect, it's hard to imagine how Miles Davis's legendary Kind of Blue sessions could have turned out with such elegant clarity, if not for the tasteful restraint and keen sense of color and dynamics Jimmy Cobb brought to these jazz haikus.
Ooh, I want more money.
Well, money is one thing, but I wanted to ask you first how it must feel to be part not only of recording history, but to be on the album that I think winds up on more desert island lists. If you ask anyone, if you could take 5 recordings with you now, now with iPods, people can take, 5,000 recordings with them. But let's just pretend it's a few years ago. and you could only grab a handful of recordings. Kind of Blue just seems to be on everybody's list. Instead of just like, Jimmy, how does that feel to be on that record? I guess really more what I wanted to ask was if you wouldn't mind recounting when you joined Miles and maybe the things that led up to that recording session.
It's really funny how I even joined Miles. You know, I knew him from a gig that we had made before, like when I was with Dinah Washington's trio. We had an occasion to work in the Arrow Theater with Symphony Sid All-Stars. That's what the Symphony Sid called them, because he was the disc jockey that played all the bebop music back then. Mm-hmm. So he used to take bands around, and he'd like get 4 headliners and put them with whoever was working, you know, probably in the house band in the theater. So this particular week, it was I was with Dinah Washington, and our rhythm section was Burl Booker, Keita Betts, and myself. And his front line was Charlie Parker, Miles Davis, Milt Jackson, and Toots Tillman. Toots just came from Belgium, you know. He was, I don't think he was even playing harmonica then. He was still into the guitar, you know. So we had to do that like 3 or 4 times a day. So getting back to that, that's when I first met Miles. And then a little later, after a period of years, I had occasion to I met Julian Cannonball Adderley back then at the time with Dinah too. So we managed to have a band together. I was in his band with him and Nat and Junior Mance, Sam Jones, and myself. So we did that for a minute, and then he broke up that band. This is fast forward I'm doing now. We kept in touch with each other, so he got the job with Miles, you know, because Miles heard him and, you know, liked him, and Charlie Parker had died maybe a few years before. So he was in Miles's band, you know, so like at that time, Miles had Red Garland, Paul Chambers, Philly Joe, Coltrane, and himself, you know, and Cannon. So at that time, Joe had made a little note of his own, you know, like he was getting famous because he had made some records for Riverside, and he was doing some band leader things. So occasionally, for one reason or another, he wouldn't show up for a lot of gigs, you know. So Julian used to say to me, well, why don't you come and hang out, you know, with the band, and if Joe don't show up, you can play. He said, Miles already told him about you know, that you could read and you could swing, you know, like that's you just propping me up, you know. So I did that. So like the first thing that Joe didn't show up on was like Porgy and Bess. The album Porgy and Bess. So I went to the studio and Joe wasn't there. They say you got it. I said okay. So we play. Yeah, you got it. You believe that? Yeah, yeah, I got it, right? I said, yeah, I really got it. So Joe had already done half of the record. He did the solo, Gone, 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 and all that. So whatever was left, I had to do. I did like there's a boat leaving soon for New York and stuff, you know, like, and some other thing. It might be a mixture on that album of Joe and me. It might be Joe playing the first part of a tune, and I'm playing in the next part because that's the way they wanted it, you know. That's, you know, the figure was the best takes or something. So I did that, and after that happened, a little later, I don't know how much in later it was, but I was home one evening, and Miles called up and said he wanted me in the band, you know. So I said, what happened to Joe? He said, well, Joe's not going to be here anymore. So I said, okay, well, where you working, you know? So he said, I'm working tonight in Boston. So what I don't know, he's probably talking to me from Boston, you know, and I'm in New York. I said, oh yeah, well, what time you start? So he said, we start at 9 o'clock. I said, 9 o'clock is 6:30. So Boston is only 400 miles, you see. So I said, man, how am I going to get to Boston by 9 o'clock? He said, you want the gig, don't you? Yeah, okay, man, okay. So I scrambled and I got the drums again, and at that time they had like a shuttle that could go from New York to Boston in 55 minutes. You know, but it took me that time to get from my house to the airport, you know, so I did that and got on the plane and got scuffling, got up there. And when I got there, they were already playing. So when I got there, they were playing like around midnight, you know, like really slow and like that. And by the time I snuck up and set up the drums, it was at the interlude part, you know. Bop, 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 bop. So I hit that with them, and I was in the band. So we played all the rest of the night, all the tunes. All Miles would just say, I said, oh man, come on. So because he always wanted to see what you was going to add to it anyway, or if you could, you know. So it was okay because I had been sitting there watching Joe do it, you know, for a lot of nights, so it wasn't really that hard. And like, the music was so popular, I think any drummer could have probably played it at that time, you know, because they liked it. So,
they would have known the music.
Yeah, well, we did that. So I don't ever remember having like a major rehearsal in that band. You know, I just stepped up and started to play, and that's how it was.
Now, at that point, can I interject?
Yeah.
Were you and Philly Joe good friends
Yeah.
at that point? And
Yeah, me and Joe were tight. I like Joe. And he liked me, you know, because we used to have occasions for he used to come to me because he knew at one point I was the only one that probably had some money, so so he would come to me and say,
so you were good friends.
I said, good friends. So he would come to me and say, Jay, could you let me have? I said, yeah, okay, Joe. Bam, you know, so.
It's funny how the leaders at those times, they just assumed that you knew all their tunes,
Yeah,
you know?
yeah.
There was never no rehearsal or
He
anything. They
never
just,
asked me nothing, man.
yeah,
He
just
said,
come
well,
in and say, play the gig.
But you know what? That's what's missing a lot today. I mean, Peter, you went on Stan's band right out of school when we were in Indiana, and it's like you're expected to know the stuff.
Exactly.
They tell you once, and you got to get it. You don't get a second chance.
It's the same thing when I joined Canon.
Yeah,
Same thing. You just called me, and we hit in Atlantic City, and no rehearsal, and then it was just right there,
do it,
right in the pot.
Yeah.
Remember that, Jimmy? We saw Peter the first time he sat in with the band.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
He wasn't even in the band yet, man. He sat in with what, Maynard or Woody's band or something like that.
Somewhere
Your
we were like
father
the
was there.
Westchester or something.
Your father was there, man. You sat in with the band. It sounded beautiful. We watched him.
Yeah, he just went on and played, man. I said, well,
Next thing
okay.
you know, there he goes.
Yeah. Yeah, I remember that, man.
Did you and Philly Joe sit down and talk about things that you did at the drums and like pick each other's brains and?
Oh yeah, well I used to always try to pick Joe's brains because I love the way Joe played, you know. And it looked like Joe looked like a guy that he just got all this natural. He just woke up one morning and somebody said, "Here, take this," you know. But you know, it wasn't like that. He practiced like everybody else, you know. But he did it, and it was so natural, like you'd think it was a gift. You know, so we used to just talk, you know, and we'd hang out and stuff because he was like a funny guy to be around, you know. In fact, it would be him and AT, and we'd just be out, you know, in a bar or something, or just someplace where we'd just be fooling around, you know. And AT loved him because he loved to hear him do the Bela Lugosi stuff, you know. So he said, AT would say, oh, Joe, do that again, man. Come on, man. Come on. You know, so like it was like that, you know. And Joe was always on stage, you know. So he would say, permit me to introduce myself. And he would go through that thing, you know.
He was beautiful with that, wasn't he?
Yeah, he could do that. In fact, he made a record, you know. He made a record that for Riverside. That's probably why he figured he was going to be a band leader or something after that, which is, he had been with Miles since Miles started the quartet, you know, when he started back up again. So I guess he figured he had enough of that. He's going to try to do something for Joe, I guess.
Well, the cover of that record would either make you a big leader or it would break you.
And Joe was really knowledgeable about all the drummers that came before him, too.
Yeah,
you know,
he was, too.
He knew about all those guys and how they played and the feeling.
Did he talk about Charlie Wilcoxon to you?
Yeah, he used to play a lot of things out of that book. We used to sit down and and I used to love the way his hands looked because he had big old hands.
Yeah.
And they'd flop, you know, like that. That used to kill me the way it looked there, you know. So we said, I had big fun with Joe, man. I miss him.
Yeah, he was something.
So you're with Miles. I'm sorry, Peter. We kind of took it away.
Yeah. So that's it. I got into the band, you know, and we just hit, you know. So like I remember going to where's it? Rhode Island. What's it?
Newport.
Newport.
Yeah.
And you know, we got caught on that traffic on that little boat that takes you across that island. You know, it was, and we was late, you know, so we got there just in time for us to be on, you know. So like I'm going up there, the drums, you know, they're house drums and stuff, and they're all over the place. I got my cymbals I got to put up, so I rush up there and try to do this, and before I can even get started, my other stuff. I said, man, wait a minute. so into that, you know, I got to scuffle through that, pulling drums, trying to get comfortable pulling drums, things close together. Got through that. Yeah. So, you know, you just have to be ready for these opportunities when they come and do the best you can.
Well, I think those up-tempos are a tribute to you also, because when I talked to Max in about 89, and he said 88 or 89, and I had to follow him with the Ray Brown Trio. He did a solo concert, and then we had to follow that.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I don't want to get out and play the drums after that, you know. Yeah. And the crowd is responding to his solos, you know, like the Big Sid, and they're all clapping and this stuff, you know. So I said later to him, I said, man, everything was so fast when you played with Miles. And he said, yeah, you know, I called Miles, and I said, how come we played everything so fast? I just got reissues and I heard these things. Yeah. How come we played everything so fast? And Miles says, because we could.
They could really play faster. Man, I heard a record, him and Sonny Rollins. Yeah. That is too fast what they were playing. You know, I mean, I don't know how they kept together, but you know, they were together all the time. So they had a thing that they did. They could feel each other, you know. But boy, that thing was so fast. I said, I don't know how they did that, but they did it.
I have a question. I'm talking a lot here, but I'm excited.
This is you, my man.
On the Kind of Blue recording, were you told to sort of be subdued on a lot of those things, or did you just go in and know what to do with the music, or was there an overall plan to make this kind of a cooler thing?
It wasn't a lot of real instruction for the drummer, let's say. He would say, like, I think him and the Horns probably got together. They may have got together in his basement, or just some little sketch he might have made, brought in on some paper and handed it to him, because it wasn't that hard, that music, you know. It was like easy for them guys, at least, you know. Them guys was bad guys. Like I remember doing the band thing with Gil. He would come over and says, I want it to sound like it's floating. I said, okay, I'll try to do that. You know, so like it's floating, yeah. You know. So I said, okay. So I would go and just like play some circles on the drums, you know, like, and then Gil would come over and says, floating is good. He said, but try to keep the band together. I said, okay, I'll try to do that. So well, we got through that, you know. So on that date, he didn't say a lot about it. Just to say this is when Wynton played, he said, well, this is, you know, this is straight up. You know, we're gonna play this straight up. So that's what we did. He had a spot that he wanted Wynton to play because he knew Wynton could do that. Mm-hmm. And Wynton was nervous because Wynton came in and saw Bill sitting there and says, whoa, wait a minute. I thought I was on this date, you know. So to get Bill sitting at the piano, I said, cool it, don't go crazy. I said, you're both on a date, so don't make yourself feel funny, you know. Mm-hmm. So he went in there and killed that tune he did. Yeah, he etched his name in history, so... And then Bill did all the rest of it, because I think it was probably, the concept was like Miles and Bill, you know, so because you can hear that it was both of them together, because that's how it came off.
So that pretty much tells you how you need to play with the two of them.
Yeah.
And Jimmy had such a unique way of playing his ride cymbal, man. His ride was always so strong, and just the touch was beautiful. I used to, when I used to see him, I used to run, check him out, then go back to my house and try to play like Jimmy, man, because that ride was just laying in and the time was so perfect all the time, you know. But it was so beautiful, and it fit perfect with the Miles, all that Miles stuff, the rhythm. It was just so beautiful, man.
Because it was definite but subtle,
there just,
and it was just, everything was right.
Yeah,
but,
man.
you know, Peter knows that I was into this total rudimental Buddy Rich, Louis, Gene Krupa thing when we met at school, and so I didn't hear this record till about that time, and so I heard Kinda Blue, and I thought, wow, Miles Davis, that's like, you know, tech for the jazz charts, and I'd play more than this guy's playing. Why is he just going bap? It's like he's kind of jabbing me, but he's not, you know. I want the knockout punch. Where's that 7-stroke roll into the cymbal crash, you know? and I'm looking at it as a young drummer thinking, boy, I'd be covering all this up, you know.
Yeah, that's what they think.
And you
know?
got me, you know, before the end of one tune, and you just comped real simply through everything with the snare, and then all of a sudden you just played boom, and it's like somebody hit me right in the stomach,
man,
and the hair stood up on the back of my neck. And that's when I started playing less comping. That's when I started thinking, okay, you got to cool it.
Yeah, see, most young guys get into the drums, and I guess what it is about not having gigs or something. You know, you just in school, and you into that academic thing, and you just going through that. And by the time you get to the drums, you say, you know, and so you're all over everybody's stuff. You know, so like you're just gonna say, well, I'm gonna get my stuff off right here, right now. You know, so but.
Did you go through that period too?
I guess I must have, I can't say that.
I can't imagine you doing that, but
I must have.
But but you learn after a while just to
because you get guys that tell you, say, well, like Prez used to say, nah, not no whole lot of bombs, baby, just a little titchy boom, you know. So you get guys that say things like that. So then you get guys like Cannon used to say, fire me up.
Yeah, that's what.
He used to tell you that, right?
All the time.
Say,
that's,
fire me up.
Yeah.
You know. So you know, you have to play different ways with different guys. You'd have to know what they want, you know, and just try to give it to them, you know.
Cannon's manager used to say, boy, that boy, he plays a lot of stuff and he plays loud. And Cannon said, yeah, but that's what I want.
That's what I want. That's right.
You know?
Yeah.
Mickey Roca told me one time, he said, Roy, he says, you know, I used to play a whole bunch of stuff. He said, you know, but I started playing less and less. He said, since I started playing less, I've been working much, much more. See, that's it. Yeah,
it's about what you need to do.
Yeah, what you need to put
people
in
want
there.
you to do, man.